This is what I do all day. I wanted to make sure every kid had the same chance that I did. An opportunity.
All right, there's John Boehner crying again, this time on the Golf Channel, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome aboard. Malzberg panel time. Noah Rothman, assistant online editor at Commentary Magazine, and Stephen Moore, visiting fellow at the Heritage Foundation, former senior economics writer for the Wall Street Journal. Welcome to both of you. And Steve, before we start, you just part of your other group, the Committee to Unleash Prosperity. You just hosted Rick Perry today and Governor Huckabee yesterday. And how did these guys impress you, economically speaking?
Well, the first thing, is that we had the famous Arthur Laffer napkin here, right?
Yes,
this, folks, is the Laffer curve. So actually, it was a great event. We had a really good time with Governor Huckabee, and we had a really good event today with Rick Perry. I think both of them outstanding governors, have a great track record, and they both are pro-growth, and I could support either one of them.
All right, Noah, let's talk about Boehner. And of course, both of you gentlemen know that Congressman Mark Meadows, North Carolina, yesterday introduced a motion to vacate the chair to try to oust John Boehner. Now, Congressman Blackburn earlier in the show said that this is not the right time, and that's not the right way to do it. They got to concentrate on Iran. Let me ask you, Noah, about the Iran deal. Today we find out for sure from Kerry's own mouth that he is not seen. And he doesn't think that anyone on his staff is seen. The side deals between Iran and the IAEA. I mean, that's insane.
It's striking. Everything we learn about this deal over the course of the last week has been disconcerting. We learned it during the testimony that Secretary Moniz and Secretary Kerry gave to Congress that there may be a secret provision that was possibly classified, which stipulates that Iran surrenders the samples to the IAEA from the military site at Parchin by itself. It selects those samples and it surrenders the samples of its own accord. That's the verification mechanism that we have in place. That doesn't make any sense. It should be disconcerting again to the Congress. So yes, those who say that this is not the right time to oust Boehner, given this news cycle that's dominated by Planned Parenthood and this Matryoshka doll, that's the Iran deal, when it's not focused on Trump, it absolutely doesn't make any sense.
Now, Stephen, economically speaking here, I mean, this is a Congress that has done nothing, in my view. The Senate has done absolutely nothing, which is very disappointing. And the House, Boehner reportedly has punished conservatives who have bucked him and have gone against him. And now one of the main bills that they have staring them in the face before it expires is the highway funding bill, correct? So what is that significance?
This is a fiasco, Steve. I think that this is a huge, huge political problem for the Republicans. What's going on here is, whenever you have a highway bill like this, and I've lived through 5 or 6 of them now, they come up every 4 or 5 years, Republicans turn into Democrats, and they want the pork and they want the higher taxes to pay for all of the, the construction projects. And so what's problematic here is that what's shaping up is a deal that would raise taxes on companies, possibly raise the gasoline tax to pay for more pork projects. Now, Steve, I would say that is exactly the opposite of what Republicans promised when they asked American voters to give them a majority, right? They said we're for fiscal responsibility, limited government, less taxes. This highway bill is just the opposite. By the way, I can't resist mentioning that they had a vote in the Senate, I forget whether it was late last week or early this week, on whether they should resuscitate the evil Export-Import Bank, which we've talked about is basically a corporate welfare program. And you had 63 votes in favor of the Export-Import Bank. That means there were something like 15 Republicans who voted for corporate cronyism.
Noah, what on earth is wrong? Rush Limbaugh the other day was insinuating that not only is this a do-nothing Senate and Congress, but that they're not even speaking out anymore against Obama and his policies. Far from putting it on his desk and daring him to veto things, they're not even criticizing him. And he mentioned these words: blackmail, promises of economic positions when they leave office, and other such nefarious things. I mean, what explanation can there be for this Congress, these Republican and the leadership of the Republican Party not doing anything they promised they would do?
Very little things that they promised they would do, and you can attribute a lot of that to the fact that you can't necessarily govern from both chambers. You can secure committee chairmanships, but you can't necessarily pass legislation. You can only block it. that's the argument, and I'm partially sympathetic to it, but also the argument that they always need to win the next election is also wearing a little bit thin. I'm a little confused as to why we're challenging House leadership when the Senate leadership is really far more to blame as far as this reimposition of the Import-Export Bank goes.
No, I agree. I agree, and I brought Boehner up because of the move to oust him and the fact that he has, incurred the wrath of conservatives who have claimed that they've been punished.
Well, Steve, let me give you an example of some of the missed priorities of this Senate leadership. So, basically, you had Mitch McConnell insisting that they have this vote on the Export-Import Bank. Meanwhile, what they haven't had, and I may be wrong on this, but I believe I'm right, they still haven't had a vote on defunding Planned Parenthood. I mean, my goodness.
No, they have not.
Do you think the Democrats want to vote right now to continue funding for what we now know is a completely evil organization that is selling body parts? I mean, my goodness, if the shoe were on the other foot, the Democrats would have this vote over and over and over again to embarrass Republicans, but we won't do that.
Yeah, that's your final word, Noah.
Well, that's ironically an argument for a leadership change, isn't it? Is that if this were, the shoe was on the other foot and Democrats had this news cycle that was dominated by the Iran deal, dominated by Planned Parenthood, they wouldn't be challenging leadership. They would be pushing forward with something on a much more uniform party line. The leadership cannot keep this conference together, and that's an argument for new leadership.
Yeah. All right, guys, great discussion. Thank you both, Noah Rothman and Stephen Moore. Up next, the one and only Patrick J. Buchanan will weigh in on all this and more. Don't go away.